users across the whole world, worldwide. Because this one is not only for people working in Zambia. No, it's worldwide. A person can be in Japan, USA, UK, or India, but they will be able to access your software. This one, cloud computing, CA Premier, anywhere in the world. Okay, that's why when it comes into the terms of security and the configuration, we require a properly qualified person. So this is our mission here. So if you don't have already a mission at your office there, okay, because these databases are very expensive. One is costing to near about $20,000. Now, in an event where you can't have such kind of money, we advise that you download what is called the SQL Server Express, which is free. The space which is provided there is 10 GB, okay, which is 5 times bigger than the current CA Premier semi-cloud, which is currently being used by many people. Okay, what is the difference between the current semi-cloud software and the full-time cloud software CA Premier, which we are launching now? The current semi-cloud software CA Premier means you don't need to be an IT to use it. No. You can be an office orderly, you can be a receptionist. As long as you know how to read, you can use that CA Premier semi-cloud software. It doesn't require to be to have an IT. Once we install it there, that's it. Okay? No the downtime, nothing. It doesn't exist. You work freely. Each time you want to go to your office, you don't need an IT to help you. You do it the same way you use Excel, where you are sure that each time you want to open an Excel package, it's always there. That's the technology which we have used there to ensure that whoever want to use that, yeah, is actually available. It's one way of trying to cut costs for SMEs. You remember, Zambia is actually, the Zambian economy is made up of small companies. Therefore, can you imagine if we are to tell the people to say to use the software, you need to employ IT people. When actually you find that, okay, in many companies, it's just the owner and a few employees there. Okay. Now, how are they going to manage the cost, reduce the cost? Some of the people who they employed, they are not even in IT, they don't even know, or what they know is to switch on the computer, everything is happening. That is the reason why our CA Premier semi-cloud is actually moving fast, because it doesn't require an IT person to manage. But this platform which we are launching today, unfortunately, this one require a full-time IT database management manager. If you don't have an IT manager there, unfortunately, this can't work, because it requires some update, and that IT manager need to go on the server. And oh, sorry, I forgot something. Actually, if you have an IT person, you also need to have a server, a machine server, where there is a Windows server there and a big machine there, where all the users should be first routed to the server machine there. Where there is Windows server, that Windows server should allow you to create an Active Directory and create some policies or standard policies, so much that okay, within that domain, you should be able to now create a new domain called SQL, okay, where you put all the users who will be accessing the cloud software, okay? So now what I'm trying to say here, let's assume that this is your mission. You log in, remember, if you have seen here, we are using window authentication. Why are we using window authentication, not server authentication? Because if we are to use the server authentication, it means that the users will have to log in twice. at login through Windows there, and at the time when they are required to use the server. Now, when we use Windows authentication, this process means it will bypass the SQL Server login. Users will not be required to do that. Once they log in using the credentials from Windows, that's sufficient. That is the reason why I'm saying you need to have an IT qualified person to create what we call Active Directory, which they have to install it there. In most of these Windows like 11, Windows 11 or 10, it's already there. It's just a question of installing as an option there. Okay, you move on. Now, we connect to our machine so that we see what we are talking about. All right. So now, as you can see, I'm trying to connect to the database, which is on the cloud. Okay. Yeah. There we are. Almost there. Yeah. So that we are moving together. We understand each other. Once we understand each other, then we can move. As you can see, this is my database, okay, where it is, the database called accounts is here, okay, yeah. So if I expand here, we'll be able to see the tables. The same tables which are in Access database, they are here. The reason why we made the tables to be similar is to make sure that, okay, the interface which runs through the semi-cloud there is the same. You have the same tables whatsoever, nothing changes. And it's easier for us to maintain. Okay, so you can see all these are the same. Okay, yeah. So as you can see, nothing changes. You have the EFD tables and everything, they are there. Okay, yeah. So now, even if you want to go in details, you want to say, okay, you want to see maybe the receipts which are already there in the EFD, yeah, okay, you simply do this, then you right click here, all right, then you go to edit top 200 here, right, there, in this case, you'll be able to see whatever is there. It's the same, like whatever you see in the other one, semi-cloud database, except that this one require a more qualified person to understand all these things. If you are not an IT person, you will find some challenges. And in fact, we don't give non-IT people to use SQL Server or cloud database. Okay, you can see all the receipts. These are already the receipts which I have. Take note of this. I have already receipt number 12 and 13. So now, when I go to the interface, I should be able to view this one, receipt number 12 and 13. Okay, so now in this case, what I would do, I'll close it here, yeah, because I've showed you there. Then now, let's go and see the interface there, okay, for this cloud computing database, all right? Oh yeah, before we go there, what about adding new users? New users, they are added here. Under security, you come here, you just do this, then new login, all right? Under new login here, so if you remember, I mentioned one thing to say, okay, all the users must be added via the group policy under Active Directory. This is where now you'll be assigning the roles of the users through the group policy. They will have a folder to say maybe you group them together in one group folder there. Then you simply assign all those through Active Directory to that group. They will have that. But if you want, you can do it individually. Yeah, maybe some you might say no, they can just access sales. Some you might say no, they just need to access accounts, stocks, payroll, things like that. No problem. You can do whatever you feel like is okay. Remember what I was saying, if you use this guy here, it means that people have to log in the Windows site and also in SQL Server. We don't recommend that. Yeah. to avoid the problems, we don't recommend that. Even Microsoft don't recommend that. Yeah, it's easier when users just use their own credentials at window level, then those credentials are saved via Active Directory. Then the cloud database should fetch those credentials via Active Directory, okay, through group policy. So that's what I wanted to share with you. So I'll cancel this one. Okay. Yeah, logging in and whatever your IT manager, as long as that person is familiar with the cloud computing, will be able to create the credentials for the users. Then the mission will be able to pick. So now I've spoken about that. So now let's go to the interface. Okay, yeah. Now the interface, this one. Okay, let's see. This is the interface for SQL Server. As you can see, it looks the same like the one for semi-cloud. So when you log in here, it is the same. It doesn't change whatsoever. Yeah, the reason why we did it that way, because we realized to say, if we give them something different, there could be some people who might migrate from semi-cloud to full cloud. So that knowledge which they gained from semi-cloud can be applied to full cloud as well. So which means that there will be no training which will be required. That is the reason why we had to do it that way. So as you can see here, the logging in is the same, but now instead of using now a link manager, I'm no longer using the link manager. I'm using what is called ODBC. Okay, it's a technology which is actually used for whatever cloud computing which we have here on planet Earth. We use ODBC, Open Database Connection. Yes, it does not matter whether you are using, sometimes you can also use using what is called the JDBC. Okay, the technology also is similar. JDBC is used for some other database, but the most common for Microsoft, since we are dealing with Microsoft, we are using ODBC, but the other products, they use JDBC. Yeah, as you can see here, even if I wanted to open my form here, customer invoice here, if I'm to process, it's the same, it looks the same. Remember there I was telling you to say, I wanted to see, for example, if I want to see invoice number 12, you just type in 12 here, okay? Yeah, all right. Then from here, it will pop up here without problems. I'll be able to see that invoice, whatever the issue it is, okay? And even be able to print, but it's in another software. That software is called the SQL Server. Wow, this one is also a different thing altogether, but we are able to link the two together using ODBC. So this one is coming through cloud computing. As you can see, the invoice is there, properly signed, everything is there. Okay, so from what you see here, nothing changes whatsoever. If you know how to process an invoice from the current semi-cloud which you are using, it means that already that knowledge applies to cloud computing. Now let me repeat again. Cloud computing is also used by accountants for processing only, but management of the database and the infrastructure, you need to have one, a computer, dedicated computer, big computer called a server. And on that server, you need Windows Server. On that Windows Server, it should be able to allow you to have to create an active directory via server manager. Okay, things like that. Now again, there is a need to promote your active directory. If you don't promote that active directory, you won't do anything. So two things are required. I'm sure database managers, they know what I'm talking about. Yeah, once that is done, you are home and dry. Okay, it's the job of the the IT manager to forward the report. Don't forget to forward also the report. Okay. Once you download the SQL Server or cloud database, you need to go under SSMA to go and forward the report. Okay. Once you forward the report, then everything will be okay. Okay. Yeah. And also don't forget also to make the inbound rules and outbound rules. Inbound rules, I think those are now sufficient. One should also, the other one, the first one should do, which you should create is the inbound rule for the port. That port 1433, which you enter into the SQL configuration manager, okay, under IPv port, you need to forward it there in the firewall so that people are able to access your SQL Server or cloud database. That is the knowledge which is required there. And don't forget to go under services. Under services, you need to go and restart the services and ensure that the SQL Server is running on automatic, not manual. If it is running on manual, people will not be able to log in. Anyway, those are issues which IT managers can sort out. This is the reason why I'm saying, if you are a fellow accountant like myself, I think for this one, in your case, just maintain the semi-cloud software, which does not require any IT knowledge. But if you want this, it means that you should be prepared to employ a database administrator who is properly trained for this job. I hope people have made myself clear. I hope the language which I've used is not offensive, is actually so friendly, is something which is there, which one could have learned something, one or two things there. Okay? We are talking as Zambians, or we are teaching each other as Zambians for the betterment of our country. Okay? We need to make sure that our country move forward. Okay? Whatever technology which is there out there, we should also bring it to our mother Zambia. It will help us a lot. Whatever contribution which you are doing there is also helping for this country to move forward. Okay? So we share knowledge like this. Also, you do your part. We have done our part. We can say now, thank you so much. We have now made our Cloud SQL Server officially launched today, the 16th of December, 2022. Okay. Those who want more information, you can get in touch with us via our email, nectarzambia@gmail.com or nectarlask@gmail.com. Okay, or you can come to our Findeco offices. You can meet us there. We can walk you through. Remember, Zambia, the Zambian economy is made of SMEs. SMEs, these are companies which are operated by maybe a wife and a husband, the nephews and the children there, and a few outsiders there. Okay, and this is the reason why we had to separate the two software. First, we started with the semi-cloud one. Semi-cloud means you are able to compute the invoice or process an invoice and it goes to ZRA. That is also part of cloud computing. Okay, but you are able to run that software on your local area network. That's what we mean by semi-cloud. While the other one, you are able also to process an invoice through cloud, it goes to ZRA for signing. But you can't run this on a local area. Okay, you can run it on local area network, but it's not meant for that. It's meant for the people who have offices scattered across the country. Okay, you may have an office in Kitwe, you may have an office in Mongu, another office in Mpurungu, then head office might be in Kitwe or might be in Lusaka. All these people will be connected to one database there. Okay, but for you to do that, remember what I said. You need one the computer, which is dedicated called a server, plus the Windows server. Number 3, you will need also VPN. VPN can cost you something like 30,000 if it's quite cheap, 30,000 per month. If you are ready for that, this software is also good for you, because without VPN, there is no way you are going to link all these areas. Okay, this is where we thought if we had started with the cloud computing full time, many people would have been left out because of the cost of VPN and the cost of employing a database administrator. While the other one, which is currently on the market, you need only to know how to read, or if you don't know how to read, as long as you can at least read an SMS from the phone, that knowledge is sufficient. You don't need to be a very educated person to use that software. No, anyone, officer, security guards, anyone can use that software, which is right on the market. And that is the reason why it's so popular here in Zambia, because it doesn't require any IT personnel. While this one, which we are launching today, this one is purely a software to be managed by a qualified IT person. If you don't have an IT person qualified, you want to do that. First, we said you need first to buy a server machine, Windows server software. You need to organize your VPN to be there and be ready to pay for VPN every month. Then, sometimes you might want to say, okay, you want also, instead of using the free Express SQL server, you might want also to buy the server, the actual server standard. The standard is going at something like 20,000 US dollars. If you have all that kind of money, then this is good for you. Yeah. So this is where we end. I think I've talked too much. I've showed you everything. All is fine. Bye-bye for now. We'll meet again next year. For now, as Nectar Prime Accounting Solution, we are closing today, 16th December 2022. We are opening the offices again on the 10th of January 2023. Happy Christmas and Happy New Year. We hope you enjoy your holiday and come back next year with a lot of energy and contribute to Mother Zambia. Bye-bye for now.